Welcome to this meet and greet. Ladies and gentlemen, Sebastian Stan.
Thanks for coming.
I'm Clayton Davis, by the way. I'm the awards editor of Variety. Good to see you all. These are, like, this, I couldn't do this. I would fall asleep. So, congrats. So, we're here for a double feature night because if you want a little bit of Sebastian, why not give yourself 2 movies? You were busy this year, man. Did A Different Man, did The Apprentice, working actor. Feels good to say that. I have to, let's start with A Different Man that you all just saw. How'd you like it? Whose first time is it seeing A Different Man? Anybody multiple times?
No.
Yeah, there you go.
That's great. I always love when people discover this film because I feel like it's still happening. So.
Your description that you used, it's beautiful, so I'm going to repeat it. He said, it's like Hannah and her sisters meets
Being John Malkovich.
And I was like, that's so on the money. But tell me about getting the script and getting into this role, which was difficult for you.
Yeah, I mean, I you and I were talking about I, Tanya, like back there for a minute, and it sort of was a point in my life where I kind of, it stirred me in this direction where I wanted to sort of find more transformative, challenging roles, and fortunately my agent Shara Perlman, was a big fan of the script and Aaron's previous film Chained for Life, and sent me this, and literally I read it and I was like, you get so good at reading scripts and predicting and seeing certain scenes being set up for later, and then this one just totally blew me away. I had no idea what was going to happen, where it was going, and it was so complex, right? I mean, there's all these wonderful lines when he's standing up there and he's like, "No, I am this guy," but he literally is, but he's also acting. It was such a rich kind of role and experience, and a beautiful film that was talking about this thing we can all relate to, which is, we're all different, and how do we accept ourselves, how do we lie to ourselves, and all that.
If anyone knows, one of the most important things about me is I write a lot about diversity in movies and in entertainment. Oftentimes when we talk about it, we're not all talking about the same thing. We do focus a lot on ethnicity, which obviously is very important, but also what gets lost a lot in that is disabilities or different abled individuals, and this is a great example of diversity in filmmaking. You have spent a lot of time with Adam Pearson, who's incredible in this film, and you've become such a big fan of him. What did you learn from him and being able to share the screen with him on set?
He has such great ownership of self. I mean, there really isn't any. He's not trying to be anything at all when he walks in the room. He literally is who he is. And, Aaron wanted to write this role for him to give him an opportunity to kind of like be himself, because there isn't a lot of opportunities for him, and that's sort of like one of the tricks of the movie is at the beginning of the movie, a lot of disabled actors or disabled stereotypical characters are written like my character at the beginning. Loner, left behind, kind of an outcast, marginalized, whatever, and so, but it gives Adam an opportunity to shine in a very different way, and I think that's what's exciting about it.
You're gonna allow me right now to gush about you for a second, so that I'll turn to them so you don't get uncomfortable. So Sebastian is coming off some really good news. He wanted 1 Golden Globe nomination, but then he asked for another. He's been double nominated at the Golden Globes for A Different Man and The Apprentice, first person since Ryan Gosling finally took that guy down. But it really just showed, like, listen, I feel like that guy that everyone's getting on the Sebastian train, but I'm like, I knew the band when the band was cool. Like, I was there for Tanya, I was there for, all the good stuff. I know that. How does it feel to be at this point in your career where, listen, your diversity of roles, I mean, you've done this, you've done The Apprentice, The Winter Soldier, Pam and Tommy. How does it feel to be here?
Listen, I'm so grateful, but it's also a little bit surreal. I mean, you have to know like how the journey of these films. I mean, like My publicist, the greatest of all time, Evelyn Karamana's over there, and I talk about all the time, like, we don't have any billboards, like, I'm coming here, like, on Sunset Boulevard, and I'm seeing all this stuff, like, we didn't have any of that. You're just seeing this movie for the first time. You're just discovering it. People are talking about it. The fact that, like, the Globes even recognized it in any way, shape, or form was such a big win for the film, and certainly with Apprentice as well, a film that had to fight, censorship, people trying to block it, then finding a distribution, no money, like that hasn't, the student, God bless him, but there was no money or any campaign, strategy to how do we bring this out there, and we're in the conversation, and so it's definitely a very good moment from that end, yeah.
Congratulations. Let's talk about just a little bit of the difficulty of jumping into this role, but then transitioning to something that's playing after this, playing a certain guy that's going to be president again, and how the contrast of those two things, like, how difficult was it for you to transition from one to the other?
Well, so this film we did actually a while back. We did it in 22, and July. And funny enough, it was also around right before we started shooting this movie that I got the call about The Apprentice and Ali Abbasi saying, "Oh, actually, I think we're going to do this movie." And this was like 3 years after the first time I talked to him. So I finished this movie. I turned 40, and I was reading The Art of the Deal on my birthday, basically. It was like, and thinking, oh, like, this is never going to happen. And but I think they're both. Weirdly, they have quite a bit in common because it is about lying to yourself, and it is how far you people can go to protect the lie from facing the awful truth that it's so easy to suppress, and it gets harder and harder to suppress, and then the lie gets bigger and bigger. There's something very narcissistic about Edward. He doesn't come across as the film that's following in that same malignant narcissistic way, but like his whole life is about what he's missed out on, and how he's inflicting sort of that on everybody else, and so, but for me, we were talking about prosthetics. I mean, there was some prosthetics in that film, not as extensive as this, but it's for an actor, sometimes it's a great experience because it really informed everything. I mean, I got to walk around like this in the city, and I got to see and feel people around me, and the uncomfortability, or like the way they're staring, they're videotaping you, the invasion of privacy, all that. And so it all of that affected the performance.
How long did it take you to get into all the makeup as Edward?
It was probably about an hour and a half. I mean, and again, you only see out of one eye. You couldn't hear out of this other ear, and then I think he did such an amazing job, that this artist Mike Marino, that again I was going to the coffee shop in New York where I go to every day to get coffee, and they were not recognizing me. They weren't doubting that I wasn't who I was appearing to be as this man, and that was it just was such great work on his part.
As we gear up for The Apprentice after this, can you talk about just feeling like I feel movies obviously reflect a cultural moment, and we can choose to shy away from it, or we can choose to get understanding of something better. It doesn't mean you're sympathizing, but it could just mean you're trying to gain some understanding. So playing Donald Trump, it's a very tumultuous time. How did you enter that role, and what was your mindset of taking that on?
I mean, there's two pieces to it for me, really. It's actually three. The one of them is like, why the fuck would you ever think I was the guy like, why are you calling me? And then being like, there has to be a reason. But Ali said to me, he's like, oh, you're really good at you're really good at playing assholes. I guess that's a compliment. But then kind of looking at it and reading the script, right? Like, and it's a period movie. It's not today, but I was kind of reading it, and when I first time I read it, I couldn't really get through it because I had so many feelings personal towards it. The second time I read it, it reminded me honestly of like Godfather Part 2 or even Midnight Cowboy. I felt like I was reading about somebody solidifying into stone, and somebody really like losing their humanity throughout. And it made me think about this idea of the American dream, and what is the cost of this thing? I mean, that we're all kind of exposed to in a way, and coming, from Europe, from Eastern Europe, where the American dream was being sold to me and my parents when I was growing up, like tenfold, and standing here with you today and feeling grateful about all these wonderful things, being somebody who benefited from the American dream. But I can also still say that I can admit, maybe some can't, but I can admit that I'm still haunted by it. I still don't know when is it enough, and I see, it's like we're so gullible in America. I don't know, I was watching this, there's this Guru Jagat documentary that just came out, this whole thing about yoga, kundalini and stuff. I mean, it's like this guy came to America and so many people were so gullible and so easily like believed in this thing. I mean, there's something here to unpack about this dream, right? The desperate need for us to climb every mountain, and you get one, there's the next one. And so there was that piece, and then the last piece for me was, who the fuck really is this guy? Because I get what the news are telling me, I get what he's saying, I get what, my neighbor and my mom and like everyone's saying, but who is this person? Like what happened? And really kind of trying to get under that.
Well done. One last question regarding A Different Man, which I love this performance, and if you guys read Variety, as you should every day, I named Sebastian one of the top 5 lead performances of this year, like very astute, great performance, and I think only one of his best. I mean, he's been better. He's going to get better. You're on your way. As we look to Edward, there's a moral complexity there about us wanting to change something about ourselves that we think is flawed. That you can try, you can work relentlessly to change that. And what you perceive as a flaw may not actually be your flaw. Maybe it's your superpower. There's so many things layered in here. What did you learn about playing Edward, and how are you applying that to today of yourself?
Well, I mean, I think actors, we're always kind of like seeking, and there's something good about that because you're always questioning and you're trying to kind of, if it goes in the right way, you can kind of learn and reinvent yourself and stuff. If it goes the wrong way, then you're never ever sure who you are, And I think the thing with Edward is like that's prevalent to today is that it goes back to that thing I was saying about the whole Kundalini yoga. It's like there's people need answers in America. People are more grasping for, tell me how to be, tell me what to think, tell me how to feel, tell me, and you've got everything coming at you from all angles saying, try Ozempic. By the way, don't get too much magnesium. You should also do this. Have you heard this podcast? And get this self-book, and your parents, and you're this. And you're just like, what the by the end, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're constantly, and the last thing that anyone is ever telling you is to look in the mirror and just actually look at yourself and look at your past or look at whatever the thing is that's bothering you consistently and see if it's any asset that might be for you, and that's kind of how I look at it. It's like the thing that you're trying to escape might actually be your ticket, and I mean, that's kind of sort of the fable of the film is if he would have just, the problem was he grew up, like, unfortunately, a lot of people with these conditions are not as fortunate as Adam Pearson was. Adam Pearson had a great family who supported him, who told him to go out there and be himself. Through research, I saw that a lot of people are orphans, they're abandoned, they don't have the confidence to be, like Adam, to own themselves. And so Edward was, unfortunately, he didn't have the tools to believe in himself, and by the time he realized that it was too late. So I guess it's part of that. How do I get comfortable with this dark stuff that I'm avoiding, and if I do, maybe that's my way out of the thing I'm trying to get out of.
I think it's very important for me to end on this note. You may be able to play an asshole really well, but you're not an asshole, Sebastian. You're a very, very nice guy. Great asshole playing, but not one in real life. With that, we end on our holiday season with Sebastian Stan one more time. Sebastian Stan, everyone. And tell all your friends and family to go watch Different Man and Apprentice all in one night. It makes for a great double feature. Enjoy the rest of the evening, guys. Thank you.
There's always Netflix. Anyway.